everybody, and welcome to our Frozen Frontier post-game chatter wrap-up Q&A thingy.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. Greg and Sean, long time no see, guys. How is life on the other side?
It's all right. It's good. I have had time to start my own stuff up, and that's pretty cool. I've been enjoying kind of getting back into the DM side of things.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Sean?
I started a new semester. It's mostly pretty good. I have one turbo shitty class, but other than that, it's fine. Yeah, that's about it. I've been doing schoolwork. I'm on Greg's new show,
Nice.
and that's about it.
That is on Saturdays, right? Saturdays at noon Pacific time?
Yes, it
That
is.
sounds right.
Nice.
Good. There's certainly nothing else at noon Pacific time I'd rather watch.
There's nothing worthwhile happening at that hour.
Well, I mean, the flagship show of Neal's channel is on, so I don't know how you could miss that.
Pretty easily. I mean,
Greg,
it's just...
Greg went into the hardest competition.
I thought the flagship show was Frozen Frontier.
It's over. It's done.
Definitely shenanigans.
Yeah. So I think we're going to chat amongst ourselves for a while about whatever we want to talk about. And then at the end, we'll take some questions from the prepared list and maybe some questions directly from chat. So
In case it isn't abundantly clear, spoiler alert.
oh, yeah.
If you're watching the Q&A version and you prepare for spoilers, something's wrong with you. You don't need alerts. You need medication.
Might as well play it safe.
Yeah. So does anyone have anything that they want to get off their chest, bitch about each other,
How dare you
ask
kill
or
Amelie, you
reveal?
bastards.
Yeah. I honestly feel worse about Amelie dying than about Greg and Sean dying.
I do too.
I think at the time, Neal, we could have made the argument that William would have not done that, right?
It was very much in character. I saw it going bad as it was happening. Right, but I was like, Grimes is 100 feet up the mountain. I'm not going to metagame and go running down, and I don't know.
I also think it was
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was a good moment where you have these experts who have been doing all this badass stuff for years, finally traveling with a small civilian and just expecting her to take care of herself and not really realizing she needed your support so much. You know,
she never would have made it to the end. Let's be honest.
What on earth would we have done with her if she had survived?
I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Left her with the kobolds or the giants or something, right? Grimes had enough trouble dragging William out of that vacuum orb. Can you imagine him dragging both?
I would have
and
loved
Amelie?
the moment with Grimes having to choose, with William getting sucked up, Amelie getting sucked up, and Grimes only has one free hand.
Who would you have gone for, Grimes?
I don't know. I think I probably would have gone for both and gotten all three of us killed.
Oh, nice. That's
But
perfect.
is it not true that Amelie would have probably died when the Balam statue exploded in fire? She couldn't have had much health.
I don't think Neal would have blown her up with.
How much damage do you guys take? 6?
I think I took 9.
9?
With
Yeah.
past saves.
Maybe she would have gotten blown up. Maybe you wouldn't have taken her into the temple. Maybe you would have left her in another room. I don't know.
Maybe she would have been upgraded along with our gear.
Yeah.
So Neal, before we get too far into this, you don't think it's worth telling the chat what you've already told Ryan and I, or not? Do you want to sort of get?
Or you should probably at least tell us what we can tell them.
You guys can say whatever you want. There's no embargo on any information. You can you may speak
Just reserves
freely.
the right to make it all non-canon at will.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I reserve the right to shut down this government hearing whenever I feel like it.
Is that where we want to start? Do we want to start with a post-campaign theory crafting?
Sure.
Maybe we should.
You want to do a retrospective of how
Whatever.
it went?
How screwed are the giants?
Maybe we could
They're
talk about
so
everyone's-
fucked. They're frost giants in a warm area, and they're gonna die. There's no way to gain HP or health anymore, and they're beyond the reach of their gods, so they're fucked.
Nice.
Maybe we should all go through and say our favorite moment of the stream.
So actually, what I'm
Here
hearing,
is.
William and Grimes get tons of giant XP, like a whole tribe worth of giant XP.
I think,
We'll argue that experience next time.
to be honest, we should probably get 1 XP off level the next level. Get as much as
true.
possible.
That's true. Well, Nick, why don't you tell us what your favorite moment of the campaign was?
Well, I introduced it because I want the time to think, so I think somebody else should have to go first.
You know, guys, I think we should all castrate ourselves, but I thought of it, so why don't you all go first?
Okay, well, actually, fine. I think my favorite moment might have been the last episode just because it was so epic, but other than that, trying to think about all.
I've got a funny one. I don't know if this came from Fro, but I really enjoyed the kobold counting. How many gnolls are there? Well, there's one and one and one and one.
The kobolds were a highlight. That's definitely true. I think maybe my favorite moment was cutting the giant's hand off when I was about to get thrown off the cliff.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, 20 save.
Yeah, that was pretty solid. That's solid. What about you, Sean?
I enjoyed that one scene where William wakes up in the morning and is handling his daily ablutions, and kind of looks up to see a giant dragon just kind of staring down over him.
Yeah. that was good.
Yeah,
The whole Zaz thing as well was pretty funny.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
I remember. It's that scene where Nick was like desperately stammering because was it about your wife? Like your wife is probably like cheating on you at this point.
Yeah, that was yeah, that was good.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Greg,
I'm trying
Any favorite
really
moment?
hard to remember what I said the last time I said what my favorite moment was. And I don't. I don't remember what I said. So I guess favorite moments. I liked all the interactions with Amelie. I thought that was really fun. I liked playing the trick on Nick. Specifically Nick, not William. I like playing the trick on William. I thought that was really fun. I liked the chances for the characters to kind of when we had a down moment. I thought there were a lot of fun moments in between there like that. Grimes reading letters to people,
or not reading letters,
not reading letters.
That's fun. The requisition forms.
Yeah.
That was in the first episode. It's good.
Yeah.
I think my favorite Yaramir moment was it was right before we entered the tomb where Bokassa was. It was the first time that you'd used. It was the first time you did something that like wasn't a spell in the.
Yeah.
I'm just being blown away, being like, "What?
What is happening right now?" I think Neal, were you thinking the same thing too? Where you're like, "What is going on?" He doesn't. This isn't a spell, but I can't say no.
What was the magic you were doing?
He was like checking to see what kind of aura was around the place or something.
He's just describing his rituals and drawing in the runes, and he just went to, it snuck up on you. Like he just starts describing these mundane actions, and you're like, oh no, he's drawing runes. He's making magic. Sorry, he's casting a spell. Well, what are these spell slots?
Well, when your player like goes on a 10-minute description of something, you don't want to be like, well, that 10 minutes was fucking thrown out the door. Piece of shit, Craig. Moving on. Like he did such a good job, you couldn't say no. No, it was it was good. It was too good.
That was good.
Yeah.
And then Grimes assassinated the Null right after that as well, which was awesome.
Yeah,
I think Batmaned him.
Assassinate turned out to be a very useful skill end game.
Mm-hmm.
I think they calculated our damage. William did something like 500 damage in that last fight.
Wow.
Grimes did 170, out of which I think 111 were assassinates.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but
pretty sweet.
I think we would have got killed by that last fighter without the assassinate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
I think any little thing would have. That last fight was like teetering on a razor's edge.
Well, I didn't want to bring it up, but in that last round, I rolled +3 for initiative because I thought we were retreating. But then I actually stayed and fought, so I should roll a +0, which meant I would have acted before the scrag and wouldn't have downed. But
Wouldn't you have rolled a +5?
no, because my initiative was 0 at the end with the new sword.
Grand Mastery and Magic Sword.
But, it's all right. If I had have done that, it probably would have been me that killed the queen, and then it probably would have been me that failed the dex check. So actually, it saved me.
Maybe. To bring up Amelie again, I really liked the Amelie Grimes circle that popped up in retrospect, right? Like the very first scene of the show was Grimes diving into the freezing water to drag Amelie out, and then like towards the end, Grimes watching her fall to her death, and then we cut it in with that flashback of one of the Grimes flashbacks.
Which one? The one
trying to push that girl off the cliff.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That was actually one of my favorite Frofro episodes, was the Grimes flashback when he's awkwardly trying to push this girl off the cliff, but not really trying, but kind of trying. Oh my God. I was laughing. I was in stitches watching that like a year ago. I remember like giggling to myself uproariously at work. Like I was looking around like everyone thinks I'm insane.
Yeah. Neal and I role play awkward teenage love interests far too well.
You do a little bit.
No substitute for experience.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have any specific questions for each other or for me?
When do we want to do the like post-game theory crafting?
Whenever. We can do that right now.
Is that now, or do we want to do some more?
No, let's do it now. Yeah, let's go for it. What's your theory, Ryan?
Well, I mean, the big question is what happened after the orb was destroyed, severed, blah, blah, blah.
Well, of course, everyone gets teleported to Faerun, and that's the beginning of Hardcore Heroes. Or Heroes Graveyard, of course. Hello.
You're admitting it?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, didn't you guys see Marion was in Heroes Graveyard from like the very beginning, like first or second episode or whatever? Same fucking map. Everything's in the same location. Of course, it's the same. Fucking. It's a sequel.
I can't believe the viewers were like, "Oh yeah, he's just accidentally reusing his map because he's so lazy."
Yeah, that was all a ruse, just to keep the suspense up. Of course, they're the same.
The style,
literally the exact same puzzles.
Yeah, I mean, it was identical. There was an attempt to make
one of my favorite for moments was when we came up on a puzzle that Nick had done before, and then he couldn't fucking remember how to do it.
So I'll have to rewatch Heroes Graveyard to see how well you played Marion. But Grimes shows up as an NPC in Heroes Graveyard.
Yeah.
The question is, where's William?
Yes.
I have an interesting new theory. Well, I don't know, new theory. Oh, he's dead. He died of old age.
Wait, Grimes was an NPC in Heroes Graveyard?
Yeah. Yeah. But
was this when I was on the show, or was this before that?
He was a quest giver. Maybe it was before.
I don't remember. Huh. You might have run into him.
Somebody named Marion, but he just kind of like showed up in the basement at one point while we killed a bunch of stuff and saved his ass.
Yeah, that's the same one.
What?
Okay. Well, he helped. Look, that is not a full canon. That's the Sean version of events.
Whoa,
okay,
hold on. Destiny's character and my character just obliterated everything that came down the stairs. Okay?
You did. Unfortunately, I didn't know what level Grimes would be or any of that stuff, so his Heroes Graveyard character is probably a little underleveled compared to the Marion from Frozen Frontier.
And role played poorly. Yeah, he should be a level at least 11.
Yeah, but you know, that was a year and a change ago, so I didn't know where you were going to end up, and we had to make some attempts.
So old man William had his life force strained by a ghost. And the finishing touch, which I didn't really think of at the time, but over the past week, was that potion of strength, right? We didn't realize it was permanent, but that was like you traded your life force for that extra strength for that last fight, draining your con to like 7, something like that.
To 12.
12. Okay, 12's not bad.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure draining con counts as life force in the same way. Like you lose HP, but it's not years though, right?
Right. Well, okay.
No,
so
it's not.
Life force and spiritual force are different things. Spiritual force would be years. Life force would be HP.
Yeah. So I've got some questions then. So I think there's still some people that think that you're joking about Faerun, but specifically, do you want to explain what the orb was, Neal, and how it was able to do that?
So let's talk about the war in Caledonia before everything froze over. Humans and elves, or scrags, fighting for a long time. The elves end up creating this orb that helps conjure things, and it's like semi-sentient, or sort of sentient, but controlled by the elf queen woman. And they use that to summon and teleport things. And like uses how do you want to say, like interdimensional calling and recalling and like positioning. So it's sort of like a conjuring via summoning and teleportation. And as everything's going to hell, the orb sort of freaks out, and once the queen is dead, as finally able to give its control itself again for the first time in a couple thousand years. And it kind of performs a, what did they call it from Macross? Like emergency temporal shift or something like that. I don't know what the fuck to call it. But as it realizes it's dying and everything's getting fucked up, it sort of tries to escape and teleports itself and the island to a different place.
So I've got some questions on that. If we are in Faerun, and does my sword now not work in Faerun, considering Bellum's not there? Or does it still work?
That is probably too specific of a question, because Heroes Graveyard was in Faerun for like technical reasons that I needed a show set in Faerun, so I don't know how the two are really connected.
I think
they're definitely not, like, there's not going to be transportation back and forth. This is probably like the only time that we'll ever see.
That's like the classic question that you ask your DM when you change campaigns, right? It's like, here's my level 10 warrior. Can I bring over all this cool magic loot? And then the DM goes down your character sheet, like, no, you cannot keep your +5 Vorpal sword.
Yeah.
But I want my +5 Vorpal sword.
Yeah.
So I might have missed this then, but that means no winter gods.
No winter gods.
Winter gods are a fucking lie. They don't exist. Okay.
They're totally a thing. And
have I ever lied to you?
Their awesome power.
Have I ever lied to you guys?
Yes.
I haven't watched the latest Akuban Nights, but I think I saw in the Discord or something, someone mentioned Malchus is back in the sky. Was that a thing that was confirmed?
That was the thing that was confirmed, yeah.
Yeah, so Malchus is back, but they're still
I guess Van Helsing and Malachi already got to work.
Yeah, you guys kind of exposed what he was doing and the other gods behind the scenes, like, where the fuck did Malchus go? Malchus, get over here! What are you doing in the Shadow Realm? You know we're not supposed to go there. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll come back down.
So that actually worked, then. We did actually achieve it.
Yeah, he fucked up.
Voice of Martha right there.
All right.
I like the idea of Van Helsing and Malachi fucking everything up. Well, okay, sorry, Malachi fucking everything up royally by leaving the door open.
You mean Georg, but okay.
Let's just keep passing the buck.
So
I say we blame Kane. It was clearly his fault.
Since you've essentially killed our characters in a way, right? Because there's no coming back for them. Would it have been possible for it to turn out differently, or was William destined to never ever return to his family?
No, it totally was possible for it to turn out differently.
So what would we have had to have done?
I don't know.
Keep the wizard alive.
I mean, I don't have like the thread. I don't have like a crazy room in my house with yarn threads going from plot point to plot point, being like, and if they do this, then this thread will wobble and it'll make them go here. I don't. If you had found a way to solve the problems, it would have worked.
Could we have destroyed the orb before it teleported us?
I actually appreciate that. Yeah, you could have. You could have broke the orb on the spot. That might have worked. I don't know. Okay. I mean, we figure these things out as they come up. So.
I mean, actually, you could make it back because the island teleported back at the end of Heroes Graveyard. So as long as he didn't die in the events of Heroes Graveyard, he'd be fine.
Does it go back to Arcadia, though, or does it go somewhere else?
I don't know where it goes.
You said
maybe it'll come back to Arcadia.
That sounds like such a dope introduction to a higher level D&D campaign. Like, we live on a teleporting island that ends up in different planes every couple of years.
We just want to go home,
and fight aliens with ray guns and shit. That would be
Welcome to Sliders, the D&D campaign.
That would be the point where you want to look into oh god, what was it called? What was that weird sci-fi fantasy D&D setting?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, right? The one where you rode on the rivers in space.
Yeah.
Rivers of Phlogiston.
I don't know.
Oh god, what was it called?
It's not called Star.
Chat may let us know.
Spelljammer.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Was this a 2e setting?
Yeah, it was a second edition setting, or I don't know if it was second edition or if it was earlier, but it was like a weird sci-fi D&D setting, sort of. Except instead of sci-fi, all of the space elements were very fantasized.
Mm-hmm. You had like flying magic ships and shit.
Super sweet.
Yeah,
I've only had a
Spelljammer was
chance
really
to play
cool.
in one Spelljammer campaign, but it is highly recommended. Very fun.
It's one of those really big cult hits as a setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Caldonia it's gone. It's no longer
it's gone
available for
from-
Arcadian adventures to visit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not past the year 1511.
What about the Elf Island? Did that get teleported with it?
The Elf Island?
The
Remember they had
floating
the
island?
moving island where they all the elves lived
Zaraton.
in trees.
Oh, the Zeraton. Yeah, no, that thing's chill. That's fine. That's just got a bunch of like.
Zeraton.
Yeah, it's just a Zeraton. Yeah, of course it's a Zeraton. I mean, I
Yeah.
tried
Are there
to
elves on the
obfuscate
Zeraton?
it.
Or druids on the
Temporarily.
Zeraton?
Yeah, they'll use it to get from place to place, but they don't
Yeah.
live on the Zeraton.
Okay.
Sean, what do you think that Faris would have done when we found the truth about the Scrags?
Oh, that would have been so
Would have
fun. I was
kept
looking
killing
forward
and
to
eating them. I don't know. I think Ferris was. I don't think he was ever going to get to Silvus, and if he did, I don't think he ever would have been really happy there. I don't think he really belonged anywhere. Was part of the thing, right? And I think he kind of romanticized the elves a little bit because the humans in his lives had been so terrible. But I don't think the elves would have been a drastic improvement for him.
And
How would you react to finding out the Scrags are elves?
I mean, I guess it's not that surprising.
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have been as
how would you react to
Much of a
finding out the Scrags are your ancestors?
That would have been pretty cool. I mean, okay, the eating thing is a joke. He still would have done it because I mean that's kind of consistent with Ferris's whole belief system that the body is irrelevant, blah blah blah. But I don't know. I don't think it would have like changed his allegiances or anything.
yeah. I really like
my That would
I
be-
really like the portrayal of elves in this campaign. So props to both Sean and Neal for putting that all together. And I feel like that Ferris as a character and the Scrags as like our arch enemies. I don't know. It was a really nice. I don't know.
If
Do you-
Ferris
Good job.
had survived that bit, there definitely would have been an opportunity for him to switch sides, like a "come with us, child of ours,"
Are
I
there-
don't
joy-
think that would
Did
have
he-
happened.
Yeah, I don't think.
I really don't. I think Ferris kind of. I don't know. Like, you know, when you're kind of going on that quest to like, I'm going to go to the magical land of the elves and it's going to be great. And you know, it's a doomed quest and it's never going to work out, but you're just doing it anyways because it's something to hope for. I don't think he was going to switch allegiances for the Scrags.
Okay.
Did Ferris have any living ancestors? Like we had that like list of all the Scrags,
I
and their
assume
names
so,
and blah,
'cause
blah,
his
blah.
mom was
Would we have
immortal.
found Ferris's like uncle in there?
It's possible. I thought
was his
heavily
nickname.
on that, and I wasn't sure which way to go with it. And then Ferris died, and so I was like, oh, I don't have to solve that problem anymore. Yeah.
What about Yarmir then? There was certainly some cryptic answers that Greg got to some of his mushroom shenanigans.
Mushroom
So,
man.
so is Yarmir a construct, a flesh
Yeah,
golem
an
teleported to
amalgam?
the future?
Amalgam is the word I was using, not quite a construct, because it's not like they stitched him together and beat him with
a
magic.
A
Yeah.
magic construct.
Yeah.
Was he like immaculately conceived then? Like, did they like send him to some future?
They didn't intend to send him to a future. It was more of like, we're trying to build like the ultimate warrior to defeat the Scrags finally, but like while they're doing that, everything's freezing over and their magic gets all fucked up because there's too much shit going on. And rather than creating like the ultimate spellcaster to finally destroy the Scrags, it gets fucked up and he like doesn't appear for 1,500 years. And it's like, whoops.
Were they
You know.
trying to birth him at the time? Like that was still the ritual, was to like create a baby that's gonna grow up to be the.
Yeah, that was like the
Ultimate
final
warrior.
plan. We will create the ultimate mage to destroy the Scrags, and it will be Yarmir, and we're going to imbue him with all of these abilities from all these people who helped create him. So that's why like there were specific spells from specific people. And there's that dude in the dungeon with these robes that had all the spell components for all the spells that you would need later in your life because they knew what spells you were going to get, and they were trying to like ready.
What
for
about
you.
all those bodies in the Temple of Belthara? Were those sacrifices, or were
Which
they
ones?
just fallen dead? The Temple of Belthara had just piles and piles.
Oh, those were the bodies of the people who died to Scrags, the civilians
Okay,
who died to Scrags
Okay.
specifically.
Part of me was wondering if it was some sort of ritual sacrifice to create Yarmir, but
No.
totally because that's
The-
where he got his robe and his blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Temple of Bellum was filled with people who died fighting Scrags, like warriors. Temple of Elthar was filled with people who were murdered by Scrags, like innocent civilians.
So William's interpretation that it was like a battle between Belthar and Bellum, that was wrong. Because it seems like the humans were worshipping both sides of that coin, and maybe the Scrags were as well, since
Yeah.
they had
Yeah.
shrines of- Why was
Um,
why was the fascination with those two gods in particular on Caledonia? Did they have greater power there, or was it just
I think they're just most relevant to the shit that was going down, right?
Yeah, most
Vengeance and
relevant.
war. It was a rough time.
Yeah.
But both sides worship both gods, it sounds like, right? Because initially
Right.
it seemed to us like with Bellum versus Belthara.
Well,
And then at the end, like the Knolls were looking at Grimes with terror, like being like, you are Belthara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
because monotheism isn't really a thing in this world, is it?
definitely not. No.
Yeah, everyone, even the clerics worship all the other gods.
Yeah. So it's like, did you guys ever watch Rome, that HBO show? There's a scene in it where one of the wives is like going to a temple and like cursing somebody and like carving into this metal plate and sacrificing this bull. And I imagine the gods a lot like that, where like when you're pissed and you want vengeance, you go to the Temple of Vengeance and like you pray for vengeance. And when you're happy, you go to the Temple of Nerul and like pray for happy hearth and home and everything like that. So you kind of use them all. But war and vengeance was a very heavy theme in Caledonia the whole time.
So we've talked Ferris and Yarmir. I have a Grimes question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the deal with that ring? The Ring of Comprehend Languages.
It's a ring of comprehend languages. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, where'd you get it?
Yeah, right. Like, so, I mean, yeah. So that was something that we never quite answered. I think we meant to answer that in the backstory.
And it didn't happen. We didn't
Didn't
get
happen.
to it.
I mean, so, yeah. So,
I think the family sent
Whatever, just
Grimes
put, like-
to Solwick to steal this for them. And
this
Grimes
was what he stole from Princess Stella.
Oh, so that's what you stole from the tower.
yeah,
right?
so you like you
so
climb in the tower
I'm
to
finding
steal
this
it.
out now. So,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, so to bring the viewers and the rest of the cast, and I mean, I've known since the first session that I was going to have that comprehend languages ring.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That was Neal was like, I think my thief is underpowered. Plus, I also want you guys to be able to interact with
All the
with all these monsters. So I'm going to start you with this ring of comprehend languages. And we didn't really know what the backstory was on it, and we were like, we'll figure it out in the flashbacks, and we never figured it out in the flashbacks.
Yeah. but
And I was really expecting the party to confront Grimes on it more directly, but you guys kept like Nick kept like totally like I didn't. Yeah, I think maybe you got the sense that we didn't know what to do with it.
and William was
Yeah.
too non-confrontational, and then Yarmir probably didn't care.
Well, I didn't want to be seen to be metagaming, right? I didn't want to.
But at the end, it was like metagaming to not bring it up because we just didn't know. I don't know. It was.
So I have to assume that the fact that Princess Stella had that ring wasn't common knowledge, because otherwise things would have gone a lot differently if William would have known that Princess Stella had a ring of comprehend languages.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what loot the princess has. She's got a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
I feel like Nick believes William is a lot closer to the princess than William.
Probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing on the ring so I was expecting it to come up in like the first act, like William to confront Grimes about it and have to have a discussion. So I had been like prepping a Christopher Walken-esque Pulp Fiction like monologue. I want to know what I did for this ring. Put it in my ass.
Do you want me to ask you
For
about
weeks. No.
Okay.
It's the moment has passed. Anyways.
Scylla also has a +3 suit of ugliness now.
Oh,
What?
that's right. Fair. I loved that.
Oh, that's right.
The magic items in this campaign were really good.
I loved the demon mask. That thing was awesome.
Yeah. And that the leather armor, that it was the ugliness was
It's
That
shame
was
not a
nice
single
touch.
enemy failed their save against that mask.
I know, that was so disappointing.
A bunch did. No, we had a whole bunch to it.
They did? Okay, good.
nothing that really mattered.
A lot
but
of things passed, but yeah, a lot of things, because for most part, like we didn't
And
fight super weak creatures. For
I think you probably skipped a lot of low level encounters by that point, and the
Mhm.
mask was one good justification for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is now a good time to go through magic items?
Yeah.
Wait, I've got a question on the mask since we're talking about it. I thought about this in the final battle. If we'd have still had the mask, Neal, right, and I'd have put it on the statue of Bellum in the last room with the Scrags, would it have come to life and helped us?
No.
That was not your plan to animate the statue of Belthara, was it? You were just so
No,
pissed
it
at
wasn't.
us for
Yeah, but then-
monkeying all of your shit.
But in hindsight, oh, you mean Neal's plan? Sorry.
Yeah, you didn't. That was never planned, right? To have the statue of Belthara be a trap that would get animated. You were just like, as Belthara, I'm pretty pissed at you guys right now, so I'm going to send some divine intervention to get you back on track.
Oh, I was typing to chat. I thought you guys were talking to each other.
I was asking you a
Okay,
question,
good.
or Nick was as well.
That was savage,
the-
Neal.
It
The
needed
mask
to be
animating
said.
the statue, is that a property of the mask, or was that just
I feel like I gotta
using
defend my
what we were doing at the time?
Animating the statue?
Yeah.
Animating Volthara?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that was just because you were being a dick.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Ryan said. Okay.
Stroke of divine intervention to.
So
us
it
back.
wasn't a mask of animation then? Like, 'cause I was
No.
wondering, 'cause it was on the bone dragon, right? So I was wondering if they had a dragon skeleton and then the mask was like what made it alive.
More of like, how do you say, undead created by being restless and angry and that sort of thing. And that magic item happened to be nearby. And so, like, this
Yeah.
sort of Draco Lich Golem-y thingy arises and finds the mask and, like, applies
Right.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
What was the deal with the skull? Did it have any properties other than
No,
glowing
it
dim
was
light?
it was like some wizard's skull that he enchanted to be like a light so he could study his notes by, and it was just like
Yeah.
a cool glowing skull. Yeah.
Was it just
Wizards like skulls.
Yeah, it's just a sweet thing to have around. I would like a glowing skull on my desk if I could get one.
I'd have nightmares for you like ever.
What about the hawk feet?
If you
yeah.
throw them
What is
at a
it?
target, an ethereal hawk forms and attacks the target and will dive bomb it for multiple rounds until you recall it.
Oh,
how strong was it?
I would have to look it up, but not super strong, but strong enough to like interrupt spellcasters and piss people off and just like be
To
irritating.
be fair, a light breeze interrupts spellcasters.
What about the ring of rings? The
Each
10
one of
rings?
those was a ring of protection.
Wait, so do I have
oh,
extra AC?
damn it.
Yeah.
Wait, did you factor that in?
Most of the time I did. Sometimes I forgot about it.
God damn it! How much protection was it?
Each one was +1.
Could he have won all 10?
No, you can only ward 2.
Damn!
One on each hand. Yeah.
Holy shit! 27 AC.
Yeah,
I played an RPG at one point. I remember that let you wear up to 8 rings, one on each finger, and it was one of the coolest
Shit.
things I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
the thumb rings.
I really wish I'd have been given the chance to socket a magic item into somebody. I think that'd have been dope.
I was so on board with you creating a permanent holster in Grimes for the phase blade.
Yes!
Like
Grimes
that,
was
I
not down.
I was
I thought
down.
that
If
was
you could pass
awesome.
like a med check, it would have happened. I would have.
I feel like if I could have identified rings of protection, I feel like William would have been down to get that shit socketed into him. I feel like I could have gotten William with like rings all over the place. He'd have been a walking
Like a
avatar.
nose ring. Oh my god.
What about when
I like the idea of
Yarmir-
never seeing like piercings, like nose ring, lip ring.
Fresh shit. What about when Yaromir was planning to like pour the ice elemental into my soul to sort of like restore my years? Was that going to
Would that
work?
have been
or was
down? Would that have gone down?
No, that wasn't going to work.
was
Well,
that-
not in that respect, but would you have been okay with imbuing William with the soul of an ice element?
It wouldn't have
Weird
restored his youth.
No,
We
but
might
it
be
might have-
able to enchant William with an ice elemental and get like, undead Walker William or something. I don't know.
Yeah, glad I didn't go through that. Then.
I mean, for a second, we had that ice zombie.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
that guy was cool.
Yarmir and Ferris died.
What was his name?
I
Didn't you
don't
name him?
remember. I named him, but I didn't get a chance to grow attached to him, so it's already gone.
Yeah,
All I
yeah.
remember was the snowman.
Riding around on the snowman in the blizzards, that was pretty sweet. Yeah.
Are there any other magic items on the list that we want to get identified?
There definitely was. Hang on. Did the Lion Shield do anything other than just be a +2 shield?
Nope, just +2 to AC.
Okay. What else?
I think
Was that
bottom of
fiery
the
burning potion the one that we didn't identify?
I don't know what ones you didn't identify. You need to. be
It was
more
like-
specific.
Frothing
like-
Crimson,
Yeah.
right?
There you go. Yes.
I think so. Isn't that? Didn't you? No, the Frothing Crimson was the strength potion, wasn't it?
Then tell us which one we don't know.
I'm looking.
Tell
Up,
us which one we didn't actually drink.
It
I'm
was
opening my
frothing,
notepad.
frothing, crimson, and warm.
All right, potions. List of potions. Frothing Crimson and oh no, that's a Berserker potion. The drinker becomes immune to fear, gains a +2 to hit and a +1 to damage with melee weapons, as well as a penalty of 2 to AC. You can't cast spells, and you have penalties to disadvantage to stealth. I'm sorry, lasts for 10 minutes.
Wouldn't have made a huge difference.
Yeah, I think the campaign would have ended so much faster if Yarmir and Ferris had survived that fight. Like we were like a couple encounters from the end. With the full party, I think we would have just stomped it all the way to the Scrag Queen.
We probably could have. It was
Like
mostly just
Yarmir would have identified all our magic items. We would have been like, holy shit. We probably wouldn't have blown up the volcano. everything would have been so much smoother. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like there weren't any mistake. Like we survived by the skin of our teeth. I feel like there was, other than getting better rolls, there was not a way to save Yarmir and Harris in that fight.
That was a tough battle.
That was a major turning point, I think.
The Bellum Shrine. One, was there any way of getting the final reward without basically looting the Scrag's armory and using all of that gear to do it?
Yeah, how did that shrine work? The magic item upgrades? Did you have a mechanized thing, or were you just kind of playing it by ear?
I was just winging it, going with my gut, doing what felt right.
So if Yarrow and Faris had still been alive, what would they have got?
I don't know.
Okay.
They weren't, so I didn't have to think about it. Yeah.
Honestly,
Okay.
I
So that
probably
wasn't something you
would've
planned to.
done
I don't think Ferris was going to sacrifice much.
Yeah.
He's not a holy man.
Mm-hmm.
Yarmir already got his final upgrade. Right? He got the robe and the staff, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Ferris would have peed on the statue, and Bellum would have been like, "I respect your courage," and given him a sword or something.
Okay.
You're in a fire. You pee fire everywhere you go.
It's so good.
Okay, Neal could have got D6 extra damage on both his swords.
Okay, Neal, did you find the potions? Oh,
Yeah,
you
go
already
ahead.
said Berserker. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a few more to run by you. The beacon ring that Grimes had, was I just giving our position away to the Scrags constantly?
No, it was a ring that the old Caledonians had used to track their youngest princess. So they
There was
wouldn't
no use
lose
for
her
it or no
somewhere.
reason that it was spared by Bellum.
Nope.
Actually, maybe it wasn't spared by Bellum.
I don't
You're
think
right.
it was spared.
Yeah, it
by
wasn't.
Gal. Yeah.
What did those throwing knives do that I didn't hit
Oh,
with?
throwing knives of disarming. If you hit someone, it forces them to drop their weapons.
What?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. It's fucking
Oh,
That's a
bomb,
great
man.
magic item.
What was I going to say? What about the burnt books in the library? I assume that was the Scrags. Why did they choose those specific books to burn? They were. Go ahead, Greg.
I got the impression they didn't burn specific books so much as they just burned a whole bunch of books.
It looks specific, because they had a
specific.
they had a sampling of books that had been burned. They didn't just grab a giant chunk and burn
Yeah,
them.
there was some specificity to it. Books that were about histories and Scrags. They pull through the library and they pull up a book that's the history of the evil Scrag bitch, and they're like, ah, fuck this thing, we're gonna burn this book. So
okay.
Sort of
really relevant text.
Yeah.
I think that the author of that was clearly a scholar.
yeah. So it's revisionist history with the Scrags burning those books.
When we were reading the history, relations were okay between the humans and the elves, and then it seemingly went sour overnight, and there was no specific incident that caused it, at least in the humans' perspective. Did something actually happen that the humans didn't record?
Not really. So let me bring up my timeline and we can answer some real questions regarding what the fuck went down. So year 0 is going to be when the first humans arrive in Caledonia. So year 0, first humans show up. There are about 8,800 Scrags living in Caledonia in harmony with the world, and their population's level, and they've got full reign over everything. And elves live, 1,000 years or something. So they see these humans show up and they welcome them and they're having a good time. The elves get together once every 5 or 10 years to have a meeting and discuss things. And after 100 years, so that's 10 meetings of the elves, 10 elven years basically, the humans wildly outnumber the elves. They outnumber them at a 2-to-1 ratio, and the elves are holy shit, where the fuck did all these people come from? There's so many humans all of a sudden. What the fuck is happening? Maybe we shouldn't help them survive. Let's pull back and not continue to help them flourish, because now they outnumber us and they're this is our home. These are visitors. And then, some 50 years later, they've tried to stop helping the humans and it's not working. And they've tried to outright tell the humans to go home because this is our home. But, we're here, please leave. But it's been 130 years. It's many generations of humans have grown up in Caledonia. So the humans are all fuck you, Scrags, this is our home. I was born here, my grandfather was born here, his father was born here. You can't tell us to leave. And so the elves, seeing that their homeland is being overpopulated with this invasive species and their forests being destroyed for these people, start panicking and like they burn the castle to the ground, because for elves who live in trees, like burning someone's home is like of a particular level of insult. To the humans, it's just random destruction, but to the elves whose homes are made from trees that they craft over hundreds of years, that's like a big fucking deal. And then the humans don't want to leave, the elves want them to leave, but the humans have now already outnumber them. And when they're not in forests, the humans have badass cavalry, and the elves don't really compare to that because they do like teleporting between trees, so they don't really, cavalry doesn't work for them for their methods of transportation. And so the elves can never really take out the humans because there's so many of them, and they've got such good cavalry and like static defenses. And the humans can't ever take out the elves because they've got such good cover and ability to hide and move and hit multiple places at once. And so it's just sort of like this war where no side can ever really get an advantage. And it's the same elves that were there when the humans first showed up for the entire war. And they're like, numbers keep thinning, but they keep gaining power and like gaining levels. So they're all like max level by the end, and all the scrags are specifically known by name and like detailed by their scars and features and who they are and what they've done. And it's just one of those impossible situations where both sides' perspective holds a lot of weight.
Could they actually teleport from tree to tree, or was it just that one tree in the Deadwood that they could teleport to?
Specific trees to trees, yeah. How
did that teleportation there work in the Deadwood? Could we have ever harnessed it for ourselves?
Yaramir might have been able to eventually, maybe. I didn't have a methodology worked out for you. I was just like, well, it's scrag magic. That's just something they do. It's an power built in there somewhere. I don't know how it fucking works.
So did they have to go like from a specific place to there? Or could they go from anywhere to that tree?
No. There's like specific portals that work together, like a Nidus network of trees.
Is that all the living trees, or are those just getting replanted?
The living trees were the acts of the druids trying to like replant Caledonia.
Okay. Yeah. So there was other Deadwoods, was there?
Those, most of them got burned down by the humans and had been like destroyed. That one had got quarantined because those trees had been enchanted to like fight back against the humans.
Right. Okay.
The other ones were like teleportation trees without any tree defenses nearby.
Was there anything to like, were we meant to burn down the Deadwood and defeat some final boss in there? Or was that
such thing as meant to, Ryan? It's an adventure that you
was,
fulfill
that was
yourself,
an option, right?
man.
There was like is that what you had intended there? It being a possible monster to fight at the center of the forest?
No.
Was there any treasure?
No, there's no treasure. It was just a feature of the landscape. One of those things to discover and puzzle over. I've just posted Yarmir's full spell list in Twitch chat. Nice. Here it is again.
Sweet. Including the ones like the...
Yeah, this is my notes for his spell list. My full notes.
So jumping back to magic items for a second, were there any that we missed that you wanted to introduce? Or did we sacrifice any that had interesting properties?
I do believe some got sacrificed that were interesting. Let me see if I can find my notes on them.
Oh, and there must have been some cool stuff in the armory that we just didn't get either.
Dust of Appearance, Horn of Blasting, Gem of True Seeing, Amulet of Reduction, Potions of Extra Healing, Fire Breath, Grease, Berserk, Invisibility, Gaseous Form, Hammer of Silence, Arrows of Flying that had just 5 times the range, Knives of Disarming, Short Sword of Jexel, Plate Mail that won't fit William, I have noted specifically. It's a dick move, but I like it. Potions of Strength, of Constitution, same thing, get +3 to con, -3 to random other stat. Potion of Reduction, Potion of Featherfall, Potion of Water Breathing, Potion of Infravision, Hawk Talons, which summons a Phantom Hawk that attacks enemies in the area, 1 attack per round, guaranteed hit, 2d4 damage.
Wow.
Hawk is ethereal, has 0 HP and 16 AC, so any blow will hit it. After 10 rounds, or if it's killed, it'll vanish, and the talons will fall wherever it was, and it can only be summoned once per day.
So that's why it disappeared when I touched it with the dagger, because it's got 0 health.
0 health, yeah. Let's keep scrolling. More magic items.
So it looks from Yaramir's spell list that he was going to get Sending, which meant that if he'd got that, we could have sent a message back to the mainland of Yaramir.
Yeah, he's also got Contact Other Plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Got all sorts of good
Teleport.
shit.
Wow, you got some solid level 5 spells.
Mm-hmm.
animate dead. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
So why did the Scrags not attack? Like, why didn't they just like turn up day one and kill us all?
Well,
Were
first off,
they-
they didn't know you were there day one, right? They're chilling down south doing their thing, and you guys showed up on the north. And then as you're coming down, they're like, and once they start realizing that you're here, it's more of like an observational what the fuck is going on. We've been here by ourselves for 1,500 years. Let's keep an eye on things. And elves are long-lived and slow to react. And after 1,500 years of nothing being here, they just like observed you for a little while because they've been chilling for so long. But like, let's observe them for a year or two and see what they do and get to learn them. All that like missing time was, I had a combination of spells, and I asked you guys to make me saving throws off screen one time, and then I used those as like the results of how it would go. But they appear, they ambush, hold person, mind read, and then cast forget on you, so you forget what it is, and then they fuck off and go talk with the other people. And you guys rolled the nice combination so that some of you passed your save versus mind read and then failed your save versus forget. So they didn't get any information from you, but you didn't remember what it was.
I remember when you had to see the saves off screen because I rolled physical dice and got a 19 and a 20. And I was like, that's never gonna, no way. I'm just gonna roll it on roll 20. Nobody's
Should have just said that. I mean, he didn't tell you whether you wanted high or low. He was like, roll a d20 for me.
yeah.
And I wasn't sure if he might have been prepping for some other campaign. In hindsight, I probably should have known it was a secret saving throw, but
Yeah.
So I'm trying to
could have been a
imagine
perception check or something, right?
if we pass the whole person.
It sounds like that's what happened to Sean, right? He passed the whole person and nothing comes of it, or
I passed something, but it didn't matter in the end. Or I was like cognizant of something being askew, but I didn't have any information, or I don't fucking remember.
I didn't take
There were
notes
some-
on that.
I think there were
all
some
the
moments
time.
where it was like you get the feeling you're being watched, right? Were there moments like that?
Yeah, those times.
I think where the people were like Yarmir was aware that he was passing a saving throw or something like
I
that.
was
Something like
somewhere
that.
where I wasn't supposed to be or something.
Yeah.
I like skipped ahead in position as well.
Yeah, that's what happened to us as well.
Yeah, that's
We've
like
lost time.
you've lost time. You've forgotten the
But I'm
modified
curious
memory.
as to
whatever.
what you thought would have happened if we'd have passed enough saves so that you would have to say, like, you're walking through the forest and then an elf appears in front of you.
Oh, well, that's why I had to do it the session before, so that way if you had passed your saves, it'd be like you're walking through the woods, and here's all of a sudden, like, an elf comes out and tries to touch you. You passed your save. I had you roll for it a moment ago. Let's roll
What
initiative.
I'm saying is, if that had happened, I find it very hard to see how that goes without us getting killed.
Or the Scrag runs away, or
Scrag,
Who
I mean,
knows?
one Scrag versus the four of you, it would have been an interesting fight. Maybe one of you would have died, maybe not. Maybe the Scrag would have fled it. You know, it was a caster Scrag, so it doesn't stand toe-to-toe very well. So it probably would have
maybe.
tried to just escape.
or maybe we would have snatched it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were there any other specific questions?
I'd like to talk about the weather and
Weather system?
warmth and
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Before we
Yeah,
get there,
your
is there
system.
anyone
So-
else have any other questions regarding magic items or Scrags?
I think we got all of our items identified, if that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you have any that you think we missed that you'd like to let us know about.
I've got some questions
Oh,
about.
I have one thing. Treasure Town. You guys never translated its name.
Because it already had a name. It's called Treasure Town.
All right, never mind then.
What was it, Neal?
Tell us, Neal.
It was called Baywatch. It was a great name.
Oh,
Great name.
Treasure Town is way better.
Because
That's a good
it was
name.
right on the edge of the bay, and it was the town that you could like watch ships coming in and out of the bay. It was great.
At least you didn't go like Bay Life or something. That would have been much worse.
No, Baywatch. Yeah.
The Scrags in the crystals in stasis. Why did they do that?
Because even though Scrags are long-lived creatures, or elves are long-lived creatures, they're not really designed to live multiple thousands of years. And in their like deformation from elves to Scrags, they sort of lost their ability to keep reproducing. So they would like stasis people and then sort of like change out guards every now and then so that
Right.
they can continue to rule Caledonia forever.
So they weren't protecting themselves from the freeze. That was more just a way to extend their lifespan.
Yeah. to extend their rule over their continent.
So how did the caps on the volcano turn up? Was that just part of the...
Yeah, so Scrags have this big badass magic orb, and to make it go from like just summoning monsters to opening a portal to like the void and the plane of all these other things, and like, you know, sucking out all the heat and freezing everything, they needed more power. And so they came up with a way to like turn volcanoes into magical energy sources to then create more power for the orb.
Oh, so they capped the volcano to somehow like redivert the magical energy of the volcano.
Yeah, those like weird crystalline things were
That's
flux
what that was.
capacitors to redirect volcanic energy into magical
What were the
energy.
individual magic crystals, or were they just not
Those
functional?
were side effects, you know, just like weird shit growing because there's too much magical energy radiating the area.
So I had a theory that if those crystals are so magically powerful, is it likely, because we sent some back to the mainland, right? I feel like
I don't think they are so magically powerful. I think they're just residually magical, and they don't actually. They're probably valuable gemstones on the like rare and valuable gemstones in the direct market right now. But
they have some magic in them because they were able to disrupt the volcano, make it ignite. So I'm wondering if like a high level wizard who got hold of some of these, could maybe they use them to
For something.
maybe could it help track us?
A high-level wizard named Malachi got his hands on it.
I feel like it would be more of a curiosity. It would be like, well, look, there's these crystals that are radiating some magical aura. Whatever are they for? But I don't know that they have enough. Right, because the magic is the big cap, and these are just like left,
Right.
like,
So they kind of like
soft-
grew from the residual energy nearby, and I kind of think of them as like resonating with magic, almost like magnetic fields resonate with magnets resonate with magnetic fields. So
We'll talk about this another time, Neal.
Sure. Resonate, interact. Come on, give me some leeway here, Mr. PhD.
This is actually what leads to the 5e edition of Wizards that now have arcane focuses.
It's just these little crystals. Yeah.
In the final battle, Scrag cast at one point the cleric tried to cast a spell and screamed, and the second time he tried to cast it on me and it failed. What was
Because she's a cleric of Velthara, but at the point where you guys are fighting the Scrags, Velthara's like, I don't know which side to back. They fucking just let them fight.
Okay. What was the scream? Was the scream the first time the spell failed?
Yeah, the scream was like this cleric being, goddess, help me get vengeance, and the goddess is like, oh,
that's odd, because aren't cleric spells usually like they're given when you memorize them, but then you have the magic, so even if you lose the god, you keep the spells.
Oh, pretty loosey
Until
goosey.
you cast them.
It's all a lot of it's like at DM discretion, I think.
Yeah, I like to bend the rules to make my stories.
Okay,
so that wasn't a spell. That wasn't like a protection from evil not being effective. That was a spell literally not being or fizzling.
Yeah, that was a fizzled spell.
So one of the questions here, which you already told me the answer to, Neal, which I think is quite an interesting one, is someone said, is the breaking of Arcadia linked to the freezing of Caledonia?
Yeah, I wanted to ask that. Was Caledonia getting teleported what caused the earth to crack?
Well, it didn't get teleported then, it just froze over.
Not the
then.
teleport, the freeze.
Are they related events or were they separate?
Or was this still a secret, this one, Neal?
Well, so the Eridonian legend behind the world breaking is that the gods got pissed off at the people for doing too much and kind of fucked over the world. And that is not untrue, but also the Scrags doing this thing happened directly before the world broke. So I wouldn't say the fault fully lies with the Scrags, but it was a contributing factor, let's say.
A big one, I thought.
Yeah, and a factor that no one else aside from this party is going to know.
Okay. There are still Scrags remaining, right? There was a patrol outside in the snow.
A few escaped, yes. And those are the ones that, a couple of them were clerics, or one of them was clerics. And those are the ones that retake control over the orb and then try and use it to summon monsters again, because they can't quite channel volcanic energy until they rebuild the crystalline structures to fight the people in Hero's Graveyard. And then eventually they rebuild those things, and that's when Hero's Graveyard shit went off the rails, and Sean can tell you what happened then.
Sean,
so the sorceress in Hero's Graveyard, who was that? Was that related to is that just like a random person who showed up after the island teleported?
Which the sorceress?
The one who was summoning in all the monsters in Hero's Graveyard?
No, that's one of the Scrags that didn't get killed here in Pro. Yeah.
Bastardly Scrags. So would it be possible for William to kill all the Scrags and get the orb and return home?
No, because we've already seen in Hero's Graveyard that you don't do that. So
So William might be living in Faerun right now because everyone like abandoned the island at a certain point, and it was like Quincy and Torlak.
yeah, those guys.
Yeah, and who else was alive at that point?
Oh god, don't ask me to remember. I in my opinion, my headcanon of it is that you guys show up in Faerun, people start arriving and to like explore this island, and William's like, get me off of this fucking place, and bails. And Grimes is a little bit more like, well, if we're back in civilization, there's a lot of money to be made here, and I know where everything is. I'm going to start an import-export business and hire adventurers to go get me all this loot. And,
I feel like William would probably be better off in Faerun anyways.
Yeah, possibly.
I feel like he could find a place where his character be better appreciated than in Drekis.
Probably, yeah. I guess like a mercenary or something, right? Because he'd have no money to retire.
That's true.
You've got a whole bunch of magical stuff that you could trade for position and status, and fight someone in tournaments. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I guess you would kind of go pretty far down the totem pole because Faerun is pretty Dragon Ball Z.
Right, you show up, you're like, I'm the Avatar of War. And there's like 4 other avatars of war hanging out in the bar. Yeah.
We have a guild for people like you, okay? Go get started.
Let me just read through the list just to see if there's any more Scrag.
Well, I think we'll jump to the list in like a second segment. I think this is, yeah.
Well, yeah. I
if there's anything that you
questions.
So Greg and Sean, did you guys have anything?
Not about magic items or anything like that.
All right.
Okay, one more question about the Scrags. Why did it feel like the level 15 wizards didn't cast loads of really overpowered spells at us?
Because you were I was rolling for what type of wizards they were, and they ended up mostly being conjurers, and so they were using their conjuration spells. I think there was one evocationist that you guys killed way too quickly for him to be able to. Oh yeah. He was the first wizard that you fought when you like assassinated the guy in that tunnel, and then they were like the ones talking, and then they popped out, or maybe there was an
we put him in the
ambush
Bands of
setup.
Cerulean or something, and then just murdered him before.
Yeah.
Was that the one that killed our allies with the fireball? Oh no.
Well, I don't want to contravene you here, Neal, but there must have been one evocation wizard left because whoever cast Ice Storm to put out the fire in the Deadwood must have been able to.
Oh yeah. Was he out on patrol? Maybe that was a sorceress.
That might have been one of the ones on patrol. I have to check my list of thingies.
Makes sense.
Did you actually track the Scrags individually?
Yeah.
Okay. So at some point, I do want to pull up Neal's DM map and have a nice conversation about behind the screen what was going on. So I've earmarked Neal's DM population tracking stuff, movement, weather, encumbrance, and then I have one post game like narrative question: is what does Drekis hear of the Caledonian expedition? I mean, I guess we'll see that trickled out in future campaigns, but do you want to give a little synopsis of the legends that do make it back to the mainland? Like, what was the last contact? Why did the ship stop coming?
The war got pretty heavy, and a certain somebody in charge of the expedition to Caledonia thought that it was going fine, and they could divert resources elsewhere for a while that seemingly needed it more, and we'll come and pick you up later when we got the time and energy, and you're doing fine, so see you in a year or something.
And then they came back? They come back at some point and the island's gone?
That war hasn't finished up, so I don't know how it ends.
But they haven't come back looking for us?
No, not as of yet. But someone will notice. Occasionally someone will scry on Caledonia just to see what's up, and when they try and it's not there, they'll piece it together.
So how far, but what do they say? What do they know of us and what we're doing? Did we tell them about the Scrags? And
yes.
I think we did mention
they knew something of the Scrags because we were pointed to the first Scrag hole by someone from the mainland.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what they think because we haven't gotten to that point in the history of the world yet.
I have somebody who's been asking for like 20 minutes in chat now about the bow that shocked William.
Oh yeah, there was a magic bow in the loot that shocked William when he picked it up.
Ah shit!
I think it was a magic longbow or something.
I assume it was just like catered to one Scrag, and if anyone else picked it up, it was shocking them. Good question is though, Neal. You mentioned a few times that you're really annoyed that Ryan failed his listen check that time on those two Scrags you were talking about. What would they have said?
Let's see. Where is it? I had some dialogue written between the scrags. Where is it? Let's see. We've got two scrags talking. One of them says, "It's just like the old days. We should eliminate them now." And the other one says, "You heard what they said. They're just here for trinkets." And the other one says, "Last time, they were just here to escape a warlord. Well, by engaging them, we risk attracting the attention of their masters. We slaughtered the last batch. We were slaughtered too. It's been a millennia. Don't you remember how quickly they breed? We won't react as slowly as last time. We're far better exterminators than before. They dispatched the summons quite quickly. We have an army in stasis. Besides, the thin one is still unknown. We shouldn't jump the crossbow." How dangerous can one human be? He's not a human. Yes, he is. He's an amalgam. A human amalgam. It shouldn't be. This must be Dia's doing. Sweet Terrace's teats. I've spent the last 1,000 years listening to you say, Dia's haunting this, Dia's haunting that. She's long dead. Stop jumping at ghosts. You've seen their ghost firsthand. Fine, poor wording, but you understand me. These rats pose a threat to us. We could awaken all of our kin today and obliterate all trace of them. Better yet, we could consume their memories, take their forms, head to their capitals, walk right up to their queens and with smiles and rip their guts out, just like we did to King Rodoron. The expression on his face when his cupbearer ran him through and the dumb look of his bodyguards as Braxy took his natural form, you could not put a price on happiness or suffering." And there's a bit of quiet. And then one of them says, "Let's go vivisect a kobold." And the other one giggles and says, "You think after the 1,000th one that would get boring." And then together they say, "But it never does!" And then there's laughter, followed by the sound of rock, paper, scissors. And then one of them says, "You get the kobold, I'll watch the tunnel." And the other one says, "Keep an eye out for ghostly queens," while snickering.
Oh, that's a shame we missed that.
I know.
Yeah, scrags are thoroughly terrible.
I see where Faris gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Ferris was fundamentally opposed to torture. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. That's where you draw the line.
Yeah, no,
Right.
He would eat dead things, but he wouldn't torture living things.
Ferris has a really interesting morality to him that I find I connect with a little too well.
Part of me regrets the whole cannibalism thing because it was like the focal point that everyone thought of his character through.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also something that I really like exploring in fantasy because it's one of those human qualities where we think cannibalism and go, ooh, but it's also one of those human qualities where we can't really rationalize why we feel that way about it.
Prions.
That's not just because the
But like, because generally the more social a species is, the less likely it is to be cannibalistic, but that's not a hard rule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's always something that I like seeing in fantasy is like, this is a totally civilized race that also eats people.
Yeah, it's interesting to push against these taboos
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
in the context of a game or in fiction or what have you.
Yeah.
But what I liked about Faris was that its justification for this was just that, that's the way that elves do things, but you actually had no idea about the way that elves did things. It was just,
Well, it was all kind of like told to him through his mom, and whether or not she was fucking with him is just kind of up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But it's out. She's probably
I thought
telling
it
you
was
scrag tales now.
behind the whole like it's not like it's all in the soul, and the soul leaves the body after death and stuff like that.
So did the other elves leave Caledonia because they were losing the war, or because the Scrags had this plan to like do loads of horrible shit and they were like, we just don't want to be part of this?
Yeah, so the elves get together at one point while the war is going on, and one side says, or one faction of elves is like, let's declare all-out war and fucking murder these people and exterminate them and get our homeland back. And a lot of the other elves are like, dude, what the fuck? And after some arguing, about 2/3 of the population of elves like, bitch, if you're gonna do this shit, we're gonna go live with our cousins over in Sylvis. Like, I can't handle this stuff. And so they fucking take off. Some of them end up in the mountains that then become the Talons. One of them becomes a underwater living elf that what's his name runs into, Malachi runs into. That would
nice.
have been one of the former Elven queens.
Oh wow, so that was a scrag.
Pre-Scrag, right before they got all evil and horrible.
Corrupted.
But sure, yeah. Scrag.
Did any of them end up in the Frostlands? Because I remember there was that
Your
elven
mom.
Frostland.
Yeah, some of the ones that left ended up at Southern Drekis and then like walked their way up to the Elven territory. So they did come through the Frostlands, and yes, there were probably some relics and artifacts lost there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever find out what that bow did, Neal?
I don't see it in my notes anywhere.
You just wanted to shock William. It's okay.
I don't think so.
I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you did. So it's
What is this? When did you get shocked by this
In
thing?
the armory, in the Scrag's armory in the first volcano.
It was the
Oh,
session
I think
right
I know what
after
it was.
we died.
Yeah, there was something to it, but then you ended up not taking it, so I didn't write it down. I had a separate note list that I was writing this shit in.
I had the feeling it was just like a thunder bow, right? I think it was gonna like
It might have been.
use electric powers.
It might have been. I don't remember.
You did a good job in that moment of scaring us into not looting that entire room.
Yeah.
Would we have actually like? It seems like it ended up taking a while for the lava to rise up. Could we have safely looted the whole thing?
Not guaranteed. Rocks
Not
might
in
have
that
fallen.
circumstance. Maybe if we had a full party, if we had taken
How
more
does
time, been
fire
smarter about it.
shield interact with lava?
I think lava's probably a little bit too strong for Fire Shield to fully hold
The
off.
entire time I was watching that, I was like, how fucking cool would it be if I could make myself immune to fire and just like wave?
Does Fire
lava?
Shield make you immune to fire?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe magma's different than fire, though. It's like fire and earth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Had you entertained the possibility of us thoroughly looting the Scrag's armory before bringing down the volcano, and the implications of 100 +1 longswords on the right? Would it have been possible for us to loot that and send it back to Drekis?
I
Is
guess.
that a possibility you had accounted for?
I
'Cause
hadn't
that could
thought
change
about
the-
it, but
that could change the war, right?
Yeah, that probably would have done a huge change to things. I hadn't really pieced it exactly everything together yet, but where was
The
Saltport-
chances of us getting to that point in the campaign and getting those long swords by the time before like the boats stopped coming were
Mhm.
very low. Because
Yeah.
the water level of that area was much stronger.
But if Yarmir lived and we had a teleport spell or like a sending spell, right? Like
I don't think
anything's
Yarmir
possible.
would have ever teleported you to Trekis.
But at the end of
Really?
at the end of the campaign, even right? If we keep Yarmir alive,
Well,
That's-
but then we're in Faerun.
we could teleport us. Maybe not across. And I mean, there are possibilities. Okay, anyway, it wasn't something that Neal had entertained.
It was
I
one of
could-
those things that like I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
and it
moments.
seems like it could have been possible if we were in the right place to stop the Scrags from killing all of our people, or is that just like a scripted event that we had?
No, definitely not scripted. The Scrag came and blew everything up because you guys fucked up their folks at the tunnel, and so they went on like a murder rampage. But had you been there, like you would have come up against a group of Scrags at the fort, and there would have been a really interesting battle where the Scrags like advancing on your fort, and they're definitely too powerful because there's too many of them, and you might be able to take a few, but then the party might have to try and like escape and hide in the wasteland, and then maybe like wage a guerrilla warfare. I don't know how it would have gone, but it would have been interesting.
That
Yeah,
would have
pretty
been
cool.
cool. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say the character death felt a lot like it felt like we were playing an RPG, and you got two of your party members killed, and all of these quest lines are now like closed. Like you've got this quest lead that's just you can't complete. Like you show up to do,
on our helmets.
the elf druid quest line, but Ferris is dead, so like they can't do the first step in the quest line.
I have strongly mixed feelings. I really like that those quest lines close when players die, because then it gives you, or when characters die, because then there's meaning to the character's death, and it's not just like, whatever, Ferris is dead, here's a new character for Sean, and nothing's changed, you know? But at the same time, it hurts because I wanted to see those storylines end. I want to have my cake and eat it too, but you can't.
They did end, right?
I think it's just one of
this
those
just
things-
leaves
Yeah.
space for theory crafting.
It was also rough because the deaths happened so late in the campaign that like it would have been feasible for there to be new characters who showed up in a boat earlier in the campaign, but at that point it was like, nope,
Yeah,
we just have these two for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it was tough. I was thinking along the lines that if at some point one of you had died, that maybe you could take over Geneva Hughes as a character. She was going to be the first like replacement character.
I think Hughes was one of those characters that I started to like more and more as the game went on. I wish she had listened to Ferris and murdered all those people, because maybe they would have had a fighting chance at the fort if they were all together as one force.
Yeah.
I wondered if the thing with the ore, we had no idea about that going into it, but we had a lot of books before the Bellum sacrifice. If Yaramir had still been alive and we could have read all those books, would it have been possible that we would have got a better understanding of what the Scrags were up to and perhaps got him with a plan to deal with it in a more efficient way? Like, could we have won that fight if Grimes, instead of breathing fire at the Scrag Queen, had tried to run past the fighter and assassinate her right at the beginning? Would that have triggered the
That's
end?
what I should have done.
That probably would have triggered end of the battle right there. That probably would have then the exact same thing would have happened, but with all the Scrags alive.
I was worried about Grimes doing exactly that, because I just was envisioning as a viewer Grimes like, I run past this guy, attack of opportunity, triple crit, dead. And I was just killing him first, like, 6 dudes.
The Baldur's Gate way of dying, where like if you die to a crit, you just turn into giblets.
Yeah. I had visions of an exploding Grimes the entire time, and then he breathed fire and ran away, and I was like, good.
Did both of you watch to the end of the campaign?
I didn't. I have a very hard time watching anything nowadays. Like I can read books. I can barely even watch TV shows at this point. It's kind of rough. I can't sit.
That's probably good for you.
Yeah. It's just
I
junk.
only watched 2 of them live. I would put them on during like work and stuff and listen. So I was always like a little bit late to the party.
Yeah, I might go, because there's not that many episodes, so I might try to catch up on it, because apparently the ending was very, very good.
It's pretty good.
It's only 5 episodes, Sean.
Yeah, that seems pretty doable.
You could probably even watch 45 and 47 and get a pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're the 2 where the main story is progressed. All right, let's see what else have we got in here.
So, when do we want to have our mechanics discussion? Is now the time? Should we take a break?
Yeah, a little break. Nice.
Yeah, let's take a little break. We'll do a short break. Yeah, and then when we come back, we'll have some mechanics discussions or something. Yeah.
And then we'll get to the viewer question list and see what we haven't answered.
We'll save that for last. Yeah. Cool. See you guys in a bit.
See you in a few.